I'm Val, and I'm glad you're back to learn some more about forest ecology. In the past few videos, we've talked a lot about the different biotic parts of the ecosystem. We've learned about producers, consumers, and decomposers, about the living parts of the soil, and about pollinators, those specialized consumers that help plants reproduce. But we haven't spent much time talking about the actual species that make up each of those groups. And that's what I want to do today. Today, I want to spend some time talking about biodiversity, the variety of life on Earth. Biodiversity just means diversity in the different kinds of life that live in an ecosystem. Just like a human community can be diverse, with members from all different ages, ethnicities, genders, religions, jobs, and homes, a natural community can be diverse too, with members from many different species. So why might biodiversity be important in an ecosystem? Well, let's think about all the different biotic groups that we've talked about so far. What would happen if one of them disappeared? If suddenly there were no producers at all? What would happen to the ecosystem? It would fall apart, right? The consumers wouldn't have anything left to consume, so they'd go extinct. And the decomposers would pretty quickly make their way through all the newly dead consumers and go extinct too. And suddenly there's not much left. What if the consumers all disappeared? The producers would survive just fine, but maybe too well. Without any herbivores to keep their populations in check, they would grow too many, too fast for the laws of the ecosystem to sustain, and then their populations would crash. The system wouldn't be very healthy or stable. These are extreme situations, right? The chance of actually losing all of the producers or all of the consumers are crazy low because there are thousands of species in each of those groups. But what if we only lost one or two species? That couldn't matter that much, could it? The thing is, every species has a role to play in an ecosystem. A healthy ecosystem will have multiple species of producers, multiple species of consumers, of decomposers, and of pollinators. And the more different species it has of each, the better and healthier that ecosystem will be. Having all of those repetitive jobs spread across many, many different species makes the ecosystem more resilient, or able to bounce back from change. This is important because in ecology, change is happening all the time. Maybe a disease comes through and wipes out an entire species of fern. If that fern was the only producer in the community, that community is pretty doomed, right? But if there are many different producers, even many different species of fern, that community is better able to continue on safely. Even if there was a species of consumer that only eats ferns, that consumer still has a food supply in the other ferns in the ecosystem. A more biodiverse ecosystem is more resilient. But what about the less pleasant organisms? Surely a forest could be just fine without mosquitoes, right? The animals might even do better without a pest flying around sucking their blood all the time. But it's not that simple. Even mosquitoes have an important job in the ecosystem. Every organism does. Mosquitoes are great food for birds and dragonflies, and their larvae feed fish and aquatic bugs. And their larvae are also consumers of fungi, algae, and plankton in ponds, helping keep the populations of those organisms at a healthy number. Mice and rats that we might see around the city are important food for hawks, falcons, and other predators. They also eat all sorts of plants and seeds, and sometimes even help move those seeds around to start growing in a new place. Every organism has a role, and from a more selfish perspective, we're part of the ecosystem too. When we live in a biodiverse ecosystem, our crops grow better, we have more sources of foods and medicine, more beauty in the landscape around us, better physical and mental health, and stronger economies. Every organism is connected to many others and to us as predator, prey, pollinator, decomposer, holder of moisture, builder of homes, bringer of beauty, and so many other roles. And even if they weren't, every species has just as much a right to be here as we do. They matter just because they exist. And it's important that we, as forest stewards, take care of all of the species in an ecosystem, not just the ones that we like. Let's try to envision all of the connections that exist in a forest ecosystem. Think back to that drawing that you made after the very first video that showed all the different parts of the forest and how they're connected. Now, let's try to recreate that drawing by including all the new things that we've learned. If you'd like, send your drawings to us at education@mtsgreenway.org, and we might share them on our social media. We'd love to see what you come up with, and how they're different from the first drawings that you made so long ago. And don't forget to come back to watch our next video and talk some more about how humans fit into this whole picture. See you next time!